The train screeched as it pulled into the small wooden platform, its iron wheels grinding against the rails in a drawn-out wail that made every passenger wince. The air was thick with smoke, dust, and the smell of coal. Rebecca Whitfield tightened her grip on the worn leather satchel in her lap. Her gloves were thin, the stitching nearly gone, but she smoothed them over her skirts all the same. It was habit. Everything about her journey had been stitched together with habit. Smiles she didn't feel, polite replies she didn't mean, hope she wasn't sure she had left. This was supposed to be the beginning of her new life. She adjusted her bonnet, the faded blue ribbon fluttering as the train slowed. The letter in her satchel, the one written in a strong hand, promising her a new home, a husband, and a chance to belong, had directed her to Clearwater Station. She repeated the name in her head like a prayer. Clearwater. Clearwater. But as she stepped down from the train, her boots crunching on gravel, Rebecca realized she had made a mistake. The sign nailed to the weathered post at the edge of the platform read, Mill Creek Junction. Not Clearwater. Not even close. Her heart sank into her stomach, heavy and cold. The train whistle blew again, and before she could protest or wave, the engine roared back to life. Within moments, the train was chugging away down the tracks, its smoke trailing like a ribbon against the endless blue sky. Rebecca froze. Her satchel slipped a little in her hands as she looked around. Mill Creek Junction was no town at all, just a wide stretch of dirt road, a small platform, and a scattering of wooden buildings huddled together. A general store with its sign creaking in the breeze. A saloon with faded paint. A few horses tied to posts, swishing their tails lazily. But no one waiting for her. Her heart thudded painfully. If she had gotten off at the wrong stop, what would become of her? The man who had written her, Mr. Elias Carver of Clearwater, would be waiting at another station entirely. By the time she realized her mistake, he might think she'd changed her mind, or worse, never intended to come at all. Her throat tightened. She had no money for another ticket, no family to send for, nowhere else to go. Rebecca turned in a slow circle, her eyes scanning the dirt road for a stagecoach, for someone kind enough to give her directions. She swallowed hard against the tears threatening to rise. She couldn't afford to cry, not here, not when she already looked like a fool. And then, a small hand tugged at her skirts. Rebecca startled, her satchel nearly slipping from her hands. She looked down. A little girl, no more than 6 or 7, stared up at her with wide brown eyes. Her dark curls were tangled, her dress patched in several places, but her face was scrubbed clean. She clutched Rebecca's skirts with the desperate grip of a child who had made up her mind. "Daddy needs you," the girl said, her voice soft but certain. Rebecca blinked. I'm sorry." The little girl tugged again, more insistent. "Daddy needs you. You're her, ain't you? You're the lady from the train. I told him you'd come." Rebecca's lips parted, but no words came out. Her heart raced. What was this child talking about? The girl's face lit with sudden relief, as if she had been holding her breath all morning. She tugged Rebecca toward the road, her small hand surprisingly strong. "Come on. He's waitin' for you." Rebecca resisted only a moment, her mind torn between confusion and instinct. "Wait, sweetheart, I think you've mistaken me for someone else." "I'm not." But the child shook her head fiercely, curls bouncing. "No, you're her. You look just like I thought. Daddy said maybe she wouldn't come, but I prayed and prayed." Her little voice softened. "Please don't tell me I prayed wrong." Rebecca's chest ached. Something about the child's eyes, so full of need, of hope, struck her to the core. What could she do? She was stranded, alone, with no one to claim her. This little girl, however mistaken, seemed so sure. The girl tugged again, and this time Rebecca allowed herself to follow. They walked down the dusty road, past the general store and the blacksmith's. The girl chatted happily as she skipped beside her, one hand still clutching Rebecca's skirt as if afraid she might vanish. "My name's Anna," she chirped. "I'm 6. Well, almost 7. My birthday's in 2 months, Daddy says." "What's your name?" Rebecca hesitated. Part of her wanted to correct the mistake right away, to tell the child she wasn't whoever she thought she was. But the words caught in her throat. She couldn't bring herself to crush that hopeful smile. "My name is Rebecca," she said quietly. Anna beamed. "Rebecca. That's a pretty name. I knew you'd be nice. Daddy needs nice." Rebecca's heart squeezed. She bit her lip, fighting the sting of tears. This wasn't her place. She wasn't meant to be here. And yet, where else did she have to go? Anna pulled her toward a small homestead at the edge of town. It was a modest place, a whitewashed house with a sagging porch, a barn standing nearby, and a small field that looked as if it had seen better years. The fence was in need of repair. The shutters hung uneven. But there was life, smoke curling from the chimney, chickens scratching in the yard. Anna ran ahead to the porch, waving eagerly. "Daddy. She came. She's here." Rebecca froze at the gate, her satchel clutched tight. The door creaked open. A man stepped out onto the porch, tall and broad-shouldered, his frame marked by years of hard labor. His shirt sleeves were rolled to the elbows, showing strong, tanned arms. His dark hair was tousled, his jaw rough with stubble, as though he hadn't shaved in days. His eyes, however, were what made Rebecca's breath catch, piercing gray, steady and guarded, but with a weariness that spoke of long nights and heavy burdens. He frowned slightly, looking from his daughter to the strange woman at the gate. "Anna," he said slowly, his voice deep and low, "what's this?" "She's here, Daddy," Anna insisted, bouncing on her toes. "I told you she would come." The man's gaze swept over Rebecca, cautious and assessing. "Who are you?" Rebecca's mouth went dry. She wanted to explain, to say she'd made a mistake, that she wasn't meant to be here. But the little girl's eyes shone with such certainty, and the man's gaze was so heavy, that the words tangled on her tongue. I'm Rebecca Whitfield," she managed. "I came on the train." The man's jaw tightened. His gray eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced at his daughter, who was practically glowing with joy, then back at Rebecca. "You'd best come inside," he said after a long pause. His voice held no warmth, only a measured calm. "We'll sort this out." Rebecca hesitated only a heartbeat before stepping through the gate. She didn't know what waited inside, but it was better than standing alone on the dirt road with nowhere to go. The inside of the house was plain but tidy. A wooden table stood in the center of the room, its surface worn smooth. The hearth glowed with the faint embers of a fire. A rocking chair stood near the window, a basket of mending beside it. Anna pulled Rebecca toward the chair, as if she already belonged there. "Sit. I'll get you some water." Rebecca sank into the chair, her satchel still in her lap. She felt out of place, an intruder in a life that wasn't hers. The man remained standing, arms crossed, watching her with unreadable eyes. "My name's Daniel Harper," he said finally. "Anna's my little girl. Her ma passed near 2 years back." His voice caught slightly, then steadied. "Since then, she's been prayin' I'd find someone to help us." Rebecca's heart twisted. Daniel's eyes sharpened. "But I didn't send for a bride. So I'll ask again, who are you, and why are you here?" Rebecca's breath caught. The truth pressed heavy on her chest. She should tell him. She should explain everything. But Anna returned just then, carrying a cup of water with both hands, beaming with pride. "Here you go, Miss Rebecca." Rebecca took the cup with trembling hands, managing a smile. "Thank you, Anna." Daniel's gaze lingered on her, suspicious but silent. Rebecca sipped the water, her thoughts racing. She hadn't meant for any of this to happen. She had simply stepped off at the wrong stop. And yet, perhaps, just perhaps, she had stepped into something she needed more than she realized. For the first time in years, someone had grabbed her hand and said, "We need you." And Rebecca wasn't sure she had the strength to let go. Rebecca woke with the first light of dawn, the sound of roosters crowing just beyond the window. For a moment, she lay still, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling of the small guest room. The quilt tucked around her smelled faintly of cedar and sun-dried linen. She wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't Daniel Harper's bride. And yet, the quiet safety of the farmhouse felt like a balm she hadn't known she needed. Downstairs, she could hear the faint creak of floorboards and the clatter of pans. Daniel was already awake, no doubt tending to chores. Life on the frontier didn't allow for late risers. She slipped from bed, smoothed her skirts, and tied her hair back before making her way downstairs. Anna sat at the table, legs swinging, while Daniel moved about the small kitchen. He glanced up as Rebecca entered, his expression guarded but not unkind. "Mornin'," he said simply. "Good morning," Rebecca replied softly. Anna beamed. "Miss Rebecca, I saved you the first biscuit." She pushed a plate toward the empty seat beside her, her smile wide enough to light the room. Rebecca's chest warmed. She sat, smoothing her skirts, and accepted the biscuit. "Thank you, Anna. That's very sweet." Daniel poured coffee into a tin mug, his movements steady, deliberate. "You don't owe us any work," he said, his tone low but firm. "Once the next train comes through, we'll see you back where you're meant to be." Rebecca froze. She had known this moment was coming, knew she wasn't supposed to stay, but the words struck sharper than she expected. Anna's face fell, her little shoulders slumping. "But Daddy," she whispered, "she is meant to be here. I know it." Daniel sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. His eyes softened on his daughter, then returned to Rebecca, cool and steady. "We'll not confuse hope with truth. I don't reckon you intended to end up in Mill Creek." Rebecca lowered her gaze to her biscuit, her appetite gone. He was right. And yet, the thought of leaving this small kitchen, of walking away from Anna's trust and Daniel's quiet strength, felt unbearable. She swallowed. "You're right, Mr. Harper. I didn't intend to come here. But—" her voice trembled. "Perhaps I was meant to all the same." Daniel's jaw tightened, his gray eyes unreadable. He said nothing. The days that followed unfolded like threads weaving themselves into a pattern Rebecca hadn't expected. She helped Anna with her lessons at the table, sounding out words and practicing numbers on scraps of paper. She mended a tear in Daniel's shirt, her needle moving carefully through the fabric. She fed the chickens, gathered eggs, even swept the porch where Daniel sat in the evenings, his pipe sending curls of smoke into the twilight. She wasn't asked to stay, but she wasn't asked to leave, either. Each night, Rebecca lay awake, staring at the ceiling, torn between guilt and a longing she couldn't name. She should find a way back to Clearwater. The man who had written her was waiting. Yet with every laugh Anna shared, with every fleeting look Daniel gave her when he thought she wasn't watching, Rebecca's heart shifted. One afternoon, a storm rolled across the plains. Thunder cracked, shaking the windows. Rain pounded the roof. Anna clung to Rebecca's side, eyes wide with fear. "I don't like storms," she whispered. Rebecca wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "Hush now, darling. They're loud, but they can't hurt you in here. Think of it as the sky clapping its hands." Anna giggled nervously, tucking her face against Rebecca's shoulder. "You always make it sound better." When Daniel came in from the barn, soaked to the skin, he stopped short at the sight of them, his little girl safe in Rebecca's arms, her fear soothed by gentle words. For the first time, something unguarded flickered in his gray eyes. Later, after Anna had fallen asleep in Rebecca's lap, Daniel spoke quietly from the hearth. "She hasn't let anyone comfort her like that since her ma passed." His voice was low, rough. "You've done more in a week than I've managed in 2 years." Rebecca's throat tightened. She only needed someone to listen. Daniel's gaze lingered on her, heavy and searching. "Maybe we both did." The fire crackled between them, the storm fading into silence. Neither spoke again, but something unspoken hung in the air, fragile and undeniable. The following morning, Daniel hitched the wagon. "The train'll be in Mill Creek this afternoon," he said, his voice flat. "I'll see you to it." Rebecca's heart dropped. Anna's eyes brimmed with tears. "No, Daddy. Don't make her go." Daniel crouched, taking his daughter's small shoulders. "Anna, she's not ours to keep." Rebecca looked away, her chest aching. Every sensible thought told her he was right. But her heart screamed otherwise. As the wagon rolled toward town, Anna clutched Rebecca's hand, refusing to let go. "Please stay," she whispered fiercely. "Please." Rebecca blinked back tears. "I want to, sweetheart. More than you know." Daniel's hands tightened on the reins. He didn't speak. When they reached the station, the train whistle echoed in the distance. Smoke rose on the horizon. Rebecca stepped down from the wagon, her satchel heavy in her hand. She turned to Daniel, her breath unsteady. "I never meant to deceive you," she said softly. "But in this house, for the first time, I felt like I belonged." Her eyes burned. "If I leave now, I don't know if I'll ever feel that again." Daniel's jaw clenched. He looked at Anna, who was already sobbing, her small fists rubbing her eyes. He looked at Rebecca, trembling with honesty, hope shining through her fear. The whistle shrieked. The train rolled into the station, hissing and steaming. Rebecca turned toward it, her heart breaking. "Then, Rebecca." She froze. Daniel's voice was rough, but it carried like thunder. She turned. He stepped closer, his gray eyes fierce and unguarded at last. "You're right. Maybe you weren't meant for Mill Creek. But I reckon Mill Creek was meant for you." His voice cracked. "Stay. Not for Anna, not out of pity, for me. For us." Rebecca's breath caught. Anna flung her arms around Rebecca's waist, crying, "Please, Miss Rebecca." Rebecca looked at the train, then at Daniel. The choice was clear. Her satchel slipped from her hand onto the dirt. She stepped forward, tears spilling freely, and Daniel caught her against him. His embrace was strong, steady, and for the first time in years, Rebecca felt truly safe. "I'll stay," she whispered. "If you'll have me." Daniel's lips brushed her temple. I reckon I'd be a fool not to." Anna squealed with joy, clapping her hands. The train pulled away, whistling as it disappeared down the tracks, leaving the three of them standing together in the golden afternoon light. Rebecca had stepped off at the wrong station. But she had found the right place, the right family, the right love. And this time, she wasn't letting go.